Sponsored by Stand Up to All Hate. Call a timeout against hate.
So as the game goes, listen, I know offensively left a little bit to be desired, but man, that Notre Dame defense, every time I looked up, they were in that guy's face. Like somebody was coming unimpeded to the quarterback, laying a crack on him. Yeah. So that defense showed up big time.
Yesterday. Us lazy film watchers and game watchers. Us that don't watch anything.
Oh my God. Do you really want to try to do this on live air? Do you want to do this?
I'm not trying anything. I'm just saying,
All right, let's just do it. So
let's just
LaVar kept telling me how he was rooting for Notre Dame, and I said, obviously I am too, but I have concerns because A, I've watched my team the entire season, so I know what they offer, and B, I know injuries, I know what they're dealing with. They're extremely thin on the defensive front. LaVar, honestly, will say he's watched more than he's actually watched. He's probably watched 1, maybe 2 games.
That's not true.
Buddy, I love you, but you got to at some point in your life admit, you can't, when you're out at Penn State and Happy Valley, tailgating, getting hammered like Lee DeLapp on a weekday, you can't try to sit there and say that you're watching other games. You're not.
I do.
Because you're not. Buddy,
we got to understand
you are not watching the All-22s and breaking down film
the way that you do.
Week out. Exactly.
That's
exactly.
correct. That's correct. I don't break it down the way that you do, but it doesn't make one way right or wrong, though.
There is something to that because what happens is, like, I've developed a respect for Georgia because I've watched what Kirby Smart's done since I've been in my role as a college football analyst. They won back-to-back national championships. They probably should have been in the playoff last year as for one of the best 4 teams if we were going to consider it that. They didn't get in, still beat the dog out of Florida State, and who knows what would have happened. But this year's team obviously was different. They missed their quarterback, Carson Beck. That became rather obvious.
Yep.
What I was impressed by was the fact that Marcus Freeman just flat out outcoached Kirby Smart. One of the best in college football, a guy who's won 2 national championships at Georgia. He completely outcoached him.
I agree.
Defensively, Al Golden was phenomenal with their scheme. The things they did to mix up looks.
That's what
I thought
was
the
even more
interior
impressive.
players, Donovan Heinisch, Howard Cross, Tui Alamaka, he was unbelievable. I mean, I'll put it this way. He had a sack in the game last night, maybe 2. I think if you go back through the entire season, he's probably had, I think, 2 before that.
Yeah,
maybe half a sack here, half a sack there. Like, guys showed up that we hadn't seen really all year. R.J. Obens, only sack. His only sack of the season, I'm sure LaVar knew this, his only sack was a strip sack last night to set up at least a field goal.
The key is I didn't care. I don't care about how many sacks he had.
I know you don't care,
but what
the reality
I look
is
at what
like
I look at.
You can argue whatever you want. I'm just stating.
And I was right. I was right,
I wasn't wrong.
Yes, you were.
They never came back.
You want me to go to the text thread? Thank you. You want me to go to the text thread?
Hold on, Lee. Who did I pick? Who did I tell everyone to pick to win the game?
Hold on. Let's go to the text thread. You ain't going to do this on live radio. Hold on. Here we go.
Hold on.
Lee's
not
not
do you
currently.
really want to go through the text thread, LaVar? If you want to put it all out there, LaVar, I'll go through yesterday. 2 days ago, what day was it? Let's see. Let's get all LaVar's business out there. Something about cannons. Something about cannons, some restaurant. Lee, we're for Quinn's wins. Did I not pick Notre Dame?
About Scatterboo hugging his dad. I mean, we don't need to go through all of them, but here we go.
Do I not need to go through Quinn's wins?
1:17 p.m. The game started at 1. Them Golden Domes move fast on defense. I like the way they play, and I've been saying that for the last few weeks. The last few weeks. Just my sample size. I could look at an entire season. Doesn't matter. How are they playing now?
I'm not saying that you weren't a fan, you weren't rooting for them.
I wasn't, but that wasn't me just being a fan. That was me saying I like the way they play.
Because, like, I remember the Alabama game, granted different quarterback.
And a different time of the season.
Getting their crap kicked and coming back. Look, if you want to waste time right now arguing about stuff, you can do that. I'm not going to. I'm happy they're there, obviously.
Okay.
There's a lot that comes along with it for me personally, so it's great. It's great to be a part of it. I thought the biggest slight of the entire night was Kirby Smart trying to wiggle out of the fact that the whole substitution on the fourth down. Like, that was where you won and lost the game. Dude, you gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown.
Yeah, you did.
Notre Dame had 244 yards of total offense. That's the lowest in the history of the college football playoff for a team that won. So it wasn't like you came up with this great game plan and executed and it was the officials. Like, some people even go back to that play and go, well, I think it was Jadarian Price who was outside. Well, he flinched. Like, honestly, I think he flinched because of the reaction of the Georgia players. Like, it didn't look like he flinched. And that, like, someone tried to say, well, he flinched, and that's why the guy over the ball was the one that jumped off sides. I'm like, yeah, because the guy who's over there is watching the wide receiver on the outside, not the ball. Like, give me a break, man. They got outcoached. They got outclassed. ESPN puts in this article talking about how, Georgia was buoyed by all these transfers. Well, yeah, that's the rules of how college football works now. Like, we can pay players too. The SEC's always done it, and now it's legalized. So there's players who are able to be there because of NIL and other reasons. Obviously, it's a great place, great culture, all those things. But like the parity in college football is evident since NIL become a real thing. When Michigan won it last year, Big Ten school, not SEC 2 years in a row, and the dominance they had before that. And now you've only got one SEC team this year in the playoff, at least the Final Four, and they just got there this year. It was a Big 12 team up until this year. So I think the way the landscape of college football has changed, how that game changed for Notre Dame, speaks volumes about where college football is at, the job Marcus Freeman did at a place where Brian Kelly ran to an SEC school. Like, thank you, Brian Kelly.
Because his family wasn't done winning yet. That's why.
The guy can't go back home to the bayou.
The only reason why they went in there in that old South Bend is because me and my family was there. That's the reason why they're so good right now.
But the fact that he brought Marcus Freeman there, Marcus Freeman ends up being the coach to set up this culture and everything else. The special teams coordinator he brought in, who's been tricking people all year long. It was the entire program that was on display that I loved, that you got to see last night. So it was awesome. It was exciting. Maybe because of my experience and how the past 31 years have gone in some of these games, I was a little bit concerned, rightfully so. Like, we've seen a lot of these, and there were some calls in that game that went against Notre Dame. I'm going like, come on, man. It can't be. You can't be like that touch and go with it. You can't be that inconsistent with it. So
these refs stink, man.
The PI,
these rules stink.
Where his back was turned to the defender. All right, it's not like he was draped all over him. There's a little bit of contact there, but that felt like a weak call. Like, there was times where you could feel sort of the slanted, I don't know if bias is the right term, but you could feel that towards Georgia. But they got totally outplayed. Like, to me, the game wasn't even as close as the score indicated.
I agree. There was a moment. There were maybe several moments where Georgia could have turned the tide and could have tried to take control of the game, and they couldn't do it. Whether they got outcoached, whether they wouldn't do it, couldn't do it, they didn't do it, didn't happen. And listen, this is the college playoff, and now you can kind of categorize things in a different manner and now say the same thing people say in the league. This is a different time of the year. It's a different type of energy. There's a different type of feeling. And I think that those kids going out there, you're going to step up and play at a different level, a different energy level, because it's literally a one-game season. And that energy is going to be there. And if it's not, it's going to show. I think Notre Dame, watching them against Indiana, I was like, God dang, the defense is flying around. They look way faster. They're just moving faster. Now, that wasn't necessarily the case yesterday. It wasn't last night. Yesterday. But they were moving so fast that they were getting to where they were trying to get to. And they did not allow Georgia to get comfortable and settle into a game plan that they felt like was going to work for them. I ultimately felt like this when I was like, Georgia's big as S. And I said that in the text message. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, they need to lean on these boys. The only chance you have is if you lean on them, and you better lean on them now so that it opens up your passing attack. If you don't lean on them now, you're in trouble. And sure enough, they did not lean on them in a way where I would have if I had that type of size up front, where they were giving up, like 60, 70 pounds each player across the line.
Yeah.
Listen, it was the wrong game plan. If I'm going to go out of that game losing, I'm going to go out of that game trying to beat the hell out of Notre Dame. And that isn't what they tried to do. They tried to out athleticize them. They tried to out finesse them, and that's the wrong approach for the way this Notre Dame defense is playing. Yeah, and Al Golden, by the way, I'm sitting there watching how he's calling the game, and it looks so freaking familiar to me. You know what I mean? Like,
going
I'm
back to Miami.
Like, what? Anyway, like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, it's amazing the job that man does as a coach. He's a Penn Stater, by the way. Like, so he brought Penn State rules, like Penn State characteristics to the table with what it is that was taking place.
I was talking to somebody, a prominent Notre Dame alum, who told me that, like, last night was the real test. Like, it's clear sailing from here. Like, that last night, getting past Georgia. Like, after this,
they're in trouble against Penn State, bro.
What do you mean?
If Penn State can do what you're saying Georgia should have done,
that's what they're going to do. That they're going now. Can Notre Dame do what they need to do on the offensive side of the ball? Because I'm gonna just be honest, I don't think that they were very impressive on the offensive side of the ball. I think that they were pretty one-dimensional in what it was that they were able to do.
Wow.
The big concern, I think, for Notre Dame is the health of Jeremiah Love. He's the best player on offense. When he's out there, he's a legit home run hitter. To me, he's going to be the guy that I would say is going to be up for the Heisman. If Notre Dame's in it next year, like, he's everything. Like, this kid's so good. So the health of him is pivotal, and James Franklin or anyone else who's going to watch him on tape will tell you that, because he's a home run hitter. But then it becomes stopping Riley Leonard as part of the rushing attack, and that's always easier said than done. That's always been something that. If you go back through the last time Notre Dame won a national championship, Tony Rice, he was a part of that rushing attack too. It wasn't like a prolific passing attack. It was championship defense.
He was the catalyst. Your quarterback was the catalyst of this game, if I'm being honest. Like, he made so many big runs and big moments of that game.
I would describe him as the closer. Like, it felt very like the Texas A&M game where they got up and they could run the football, and he didn't make any mistakes. And then when he needed to with his legs, he made a few big runs there towards the end. And obviously it was huge because Love was out. And so you either have Jadarian Price, who's very capable, but also then you have a guy who's a freshman in Aeneas Williams, who's, again, capable, but you want to put that all in a freshman. So anyway, the way it will match up now is very similar, like two great defenses. You've got two teams that will be slugging it out, and it just depends on who's able to win that battle in the trenches ultimately.
I'm excited about the game because it is two blue blood teams. It's tradition, and when you talk about doing it the right way, I feel like both these coaches have done it the right way. I'm so happy for Freeman, a young linebacker from the 10. And he's representing himself very, very well. He's representing the Notre Dame community so well. I'm super happy for James Franklin. And while people will say, you know what, well, James Franklin hasn't really faced any adversity in the college football playoff yet. I mean, say what you want, but he's one game away from a national title appearance. And I look at where this team is and how they've conducted their business. They've been a very, very well-ran operation with what they're doing. I think that the matchup is phenomenal. I'm super excited about it, and I think this is one of those games where you say this is what's good about college football. I can actually say this and feel confident in saying it, and there's no trepidation, there's no type of pause in doing so. This is what you get excited about. And if you really are like a historical college football fan, then you know the historical value that's connected to which used to be two independents. These were guys that were standing on these programs were standing on their own too for the longest time. And while Notre Dame still does it and Penn State joined the Big Ten, you know the historical value, like the Snow Bowl and the different battles that took place between some of these really, really talented teams and talented coaches. You know, the historical value of the coaching matchups is amazing as well. So to me, I'm excited about it. You know, if it would have been Georgia, I wouldn't have been as excited about the game. And to be honest with you, I have watched Georgia play. I have not broke them down on all the 22s and all that stuff, just to throw my last little shot at you. But I will say this.
You take what shots at me for working hard, for doing my job?
Yes, I do. But I will say this. No, I'm not doing it for that. I'm just taking a shot because, well, I want to take a shot at you because you're younger than me, and that's what old people do. Anyway, but I'm glad that it was Notre Dame, because from what I saw and what I felt, I just looked at it from the standpoint of this defense was going to do things that was going to give this Georgia team problems. And the one thing that I wanted to see that I also saw was it was a super, super, super physical game. A very physical game, and Notre Dame is going to be on a short week. People should keep that in mind. I don't want that to be an excuse, and I don't want that to be the reason why we win, but I will say this. I'll take it. We got an extra day's rest. They got a regular game of being in the trenches and being in a battle, and them big boys they were leaning on them. They just didn't lean on them enough. So I just hope that they're a little bit slower in this upcoming game, and they're a little bit sore in this upcoming game, and I hope that plays a major part in how they perform.
Historically, these schools have faced off 19 times. 9-1 is the record. So this will break that tie.
Break the tie.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
This is a big matchup. Now, I'm still trying to figure out who I'm going to be pulling for.
I was going to ask, who's favorited, Jonas? I know our good friends at DraftKings probably have a line on this game.
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, and listen, you know, I think that they've read this correctly, that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are a 1.5 favorite right now.
Love that.
Yeah. Right. So
on the short week, too. Yeah. 2 less days of rest.
Yeah. I love that. I'm money lining that one.
Are you money line who? Notre Dame?
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Sticks picks.
There you go. Money lining Penn State, baby.
Oh, man. Well, this is going to be a fun build-up for this game. That'll be a lot of conversation around it here.
I can't wait till Jonas goes back to Miami. It's going to be great.
Hey, maybe they'll find my stuff I left on the plane. Maybe that'll somebody will find
what
me.
stuff was it? Was it like bags of blood?
Super Bowl.
What was it?
Super Bowl and
your snacks?
It was actually the Super Bowl right before COVID. I went back onto the plane to get my garment bag. I had left it when I walked off.
They wouldn't let you on?
Well, they wouldn't, but it'll just be over here. You just go pick it up.
And it wasn't there?
Wasn't there. I went back 2 times and checked their lost and found or whatever it was. No trace of it. Tried to get in touch with them afterwards, and then COVID hit, so you couldn't get a hold of anybody.
Which you wouldn't have wanted it back by then anyway, because it probably had COVID all on it.
Yes, I would have. You see what I drive.
You're immune to COVID, huh?
Yeah, well, you see what I drive.
When you're a vampire, you don't get COVID.
That's true.
Wait, so you left your garment bag on the plane?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just wait up at the gate to get it?
I did. They wouldn't let me get it.
I know they wouldn't let you go get it. They usually send someone down to go get it.
Right.
They wouldn't.
No,
that's racial. Man.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Racial.
Yeah, I agree.
They will usually let someone go down and grab your item from the plane.
They profiled Jonas.
I agree. Yeah, they wouldn't let me do it.
Said, we don't hook up vampires around here.
They said, what's your name? I said, Jonas. They said if it was Jose, we would have.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well,
is that a shot at Miami?
They're like, welcome to Miami. I said, okay, fair enough.
Wow. All right.
Short end of the stick again.
If it was Jose,
yes.
It would be more like Hector and or Ricardo in Miami. It'd be more like Jose out here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You never know.
Is that more of a Cuban name? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's more.
Gotcha.
Damn. It is two pros.
Saying, Sponsored by Stand Up to All Hate. Call a timeout against hate.